Hello, everybody. This is Janet Kira Lessin, and my show is Aquarian Radio. No, Aquarian Media. We used to have Aquarian Radio, and I'm with Theresa J. Morris, and her show is TJ Morris ET, and we probably will be joined by Bret Lueder of the Bret Lueder Show. And nope, he's not here yet. So I'll be keeping an eye out for him. And we're going to kind of go freeform today and discuss various topics that come to mind. Plus, we're going to ask each other questions that we can take turns answering. So, before we went live, Theresa and I were talking about some powerful things that happened this week. We're not going to share everything because some of it's personal, but it's involved with life after death and our ET experiences and astral projection and where we go at night when we're both experiencers and we've had lifelong contact with extraterrestrials. So, welcome. Well, we're both co hosts, so we're both equal. TJ, your turn. What would you like to tell our listeners?
Well, just that we've been together for a very long time, and I'm going to try to move this over for right now. I can't see too well on the screen because I pulled up a screen, but
Mm-hmm.
this new AI is very interesting to me and what we're going to be doing in the future. But being that I've had a animal die that was with me 14 years, and then before that, a friend of mine died December 4th, and in 2015, my husband died December 2nd, and it's just been a lot of death and dying. My daughter died. So I've been very much into the research of the magic of what we are in consciousness. And ideally, we're all something before we think. So we can delve into what it is that we believe makes us conscious and moving forward. And the extraterrestrial levels of the ideal reality is that something happens to us when we dream. And then many of us do virtual dreaming and virtual realities, and some of us do interdimensional travel. And what makes us all interested in the metaphysics of life, other than it's very interesting. So, whatever you want to do, Janet, because you and I are unique creatures, not everybody's like us.
No.
And we know and we accept people of all walks of life into our groups, and, you know, whatever
Well, I
people
have a
want to.
question because you evoked something in me. So, if I interject
Okay,
here, before I forget
go
what I
ahead.
was going to say, you've witnessed people that you love and animals that you love leave their bodies. And I had
Yes.
a very dear cat. What's that? Oh, that's you.
I'm trying to get this screen off.
Screen so you can see. So I lost one of my kitties a while back, and I found her when she was in a coma, and we knew she was passing. She wasn't coming back, and so we put her in a nice, comfortable box. And all the people that there were some people at the house, and we said, we're going through a mourning process, and they were preparing to leave, and so they went past her box, and they said goodbye to the kitty. Makes me want to cry. And so, but she didn't pass right away. It took hours,
Hmm.
and she seemed to be out of it, and just in a coma. So, and a vet, it would traumatize her more getting her to a vet to put her to sleep. So we just decided to. Everybody paid their respects while she was still breathing, and then at the around 9 o'clock at night, she started to kind of struggle, like she wanted something to happen, and I realized that her head was too close to the box. And a friend of mine had told me how she held her one of her best friends in her arm when she was dying of cancer, and when she was struggling, um, my friend decided to go like this and open her jaw, just leaned her head and opened her jaw, and when she did, her soul went out of her body. She went. So when she was struggling, she said they reminded me of giving birth, and so I let an exit for the soul. So I had somebody with me, and I said, "Oh, can we just very gently move her down, just like a half an inch from the box?" And when we moved her down, her jaw released, and she went, and she was gone. So there's something it's sacred and spiritual to watch the passing of someone you love, So do you have any comments? Because I know it's very, and it's okay. Tears are okay. I mean, I feel like crying right now.
Well, people, we all have compassion, some more than others. Various cultures, a lot depends on how you were brought up as to how you deal with death and dying. I put divine magic is the magic of the unknown. And at one time, everything was unknown and everything was magic because we didn't know any other way to describe it before we started breaking down into words and epistemology and ways of thinking and philosophy and science and spirit and finding all these words for what it is. But people, places, and things have been coming and going from the eons or past times, and we're always about ancient wisdom and new thought teachings. But with it comes to death and dying, and the ka, or the energy that we are, is believed to come out the top of your head. But in the my dog took one last back like that, and I think that she did that too. But earlier, when she had her stroke, she did the gurgling like Paul did,
Mhm.
and
Great.
had listed her like that, and you hear the gurgling, and he did it too, opened his mouth and gurgled. And I believe that that's really part of them. It's interesting, part of them leaves the part that's conscious or whatever. And then I think the passing of the body, I've seen it in two stages in
Hmm.
most everything, and Tom too. So maybe each person, because you hear people finding their loved ones at home or they spend the time with them. Death and dying and making someone at peace where they're not suffering is the ultimate goal for everyone that is dealing with death and dying. But here in 2024, we're hearing a lot about it, and it's affecting us. And Brent and Janet and I have been working together for years with our Ascension Center and helping people raise consciousness. But this death and dying is something she and I have been through with our animals and our friends. And we've talked a lot about it over the years. And it's something that not everyone, it's not comfortable.
Hmm.
In our culture, it's not comfortable to talk about our friends and our animals and our family passing over. But
Would you?
we need to realize there are parts of us with these extraterrestrials in the empirical levels that we've always known about in our ancient wisdom. And that's so much a part of our metaphysics, is knowing that the conscious that we are, the energy, if everything's energy and matter, what comes first, mind or matter? Mind over matter. What,
So
Janet?
I wanted to redirect, and I have some. So that was powerful. You told us earlier about when Tom, your husband, passed, and you
Yes.
saw like he split into. I can't do it justice. Like it was like he left in three parts or something. Could you
I
describe?
saw him look. Yeah, I saw him looking it up, and his sisters were hoping that he looked at his mother, because that's what they believed and wanted to believe,
Mhm.
is that he looked up to see his mother in another dimension or world that may have opened up to him because he was at that passing. And
Mhm.
another part, you could say, I felt like I saw go out the window, which a lot of people in the Jewish faith or whatever always want open window. Somebody's writing to us, so you may want to make sure the
Yeah, I
comments
am. I
are.
am. They haven't. It
So,
hasn't come through yet.
yeah, the comments for people. If you want to know who we are and what we're doing, we have the Ascension Center, and I have Psychic Channel Network on YouTube. But
Hmm.
we're working together. And when he went out the window, but then the other part of him, his little body left there. He looks like a little baby extraterrestrial, just a little
Hmm.
gray. And that was shocking to me. It was very shocking that what was left prior to his leaving completely was just his little shell, and he had shaved his head, and he just looked like a little being that's from another planet. And
Yeah.
this is a man I'd been with 20 years, but he came and did the 20 a year and back program, is what was made famous by someone that said They may or may not made it all up. I'm not going to mention any names, but it
Hmm.
really was big in people believing a lot of things that were said in our UFO community, in our metaphysical community, our spiritual community, and a lot of people roll it all up into one paranormal unit. But we all seem to know who each other is at a very deep level, and I think that's the spiritual level.
Yeah, there are other people that mentioned the 20 and back secret space program, and some were came out before that gentleman that you're mentioning. So we're still investigating that, and we may on a future show have some people that have been in the program. And Theresa and I have been in different programs that the military have. But let's stay with the near death thing. So when after Tom left, did you? Let me interject. I had three little doggies when I was in my 20s, and they all passed many, many years ago in the 90s. Uh, I think I had them until the 30s, in my 30s. But periodically, these three little doggies will come, and it's like they take me to this meadow, this pasture, and we run. We just run for hours. And I have the endless energy, and they have endless energy. And then I wake up and I go to my husband, Sasha. I go, I feel so good. I just spent all night playing with my three little doggies. And they were Lhasa Apsos, but they're very similar to the Shih Tzu that you had. Have you, has Tom or anybody you knew and loved that had passed, have they visited you? Even in your dreams, have you had any kind
Well,
of
you and I
experience?
talked about that when right after, I don't know how many days because now it's been so long, but to prove to me, I think that there was another reality that he had believed in and really instilled in me. And that was the one I think that dealt with extraterrestrials and
Talking about
those.
Tom?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So Tom
But
came.
how would death and dying and consciousness deal with all these other beings? I do believe that they have a lot more knowledge than we do, and we've always talked about them in ancient wisdom and videos or research we do, and that everything in the Bible points to the fact that there's always been empirical study and research and stories of those who came before that were much wiser than we were, and were coming through here. Now, you know, there's a real thin line between this reality and our dreams. And I don't know if everybody listening to you and me uh, understand how you and I deal, but we often, Janet and I, through the many years since at least 2007, when we came back together with the UFO community together, me in Kentucky and her in Florida, Hawaii, before I moved to Florida, we would talk about our dreams. And we talked about Tom coming back to me later on when I lived in Florida. And then I had extraterrestrials.
You didn't tell us
This,
specifically what Tom did when he came. He showed himself to you. What give us some
he was
incident.
just, he was in his wheelchair. He wasn't walking, which was strange.
Mm-hmm.
But he's always told me he was going to lose his legs. So in this future reality that he created for himself, at least in a dream state or another dimension, if you will, because I was sleeping, he had already passed from this reality. But he and I had a past relationship with extraterrestrial involvement in the
Mm-hmm.
UFO secret space community, and we had it with the Allied Council. And Janet and I worked with several gentlemen in the real military here. Tom was in their, what you'd say, I don't know if you'd say real, what is real, but in a 3D matter of the planet here when we deal in matter, and what we can see, touch, hear, smell with our senses, in a physical container, our human bodies. I'm saying that Tom was in like the military. He was trained in the Army, and I was trained in the Navy, but I was able to train in the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and the Marines and wear all the uniforms. So he wasn't in uniform in the future, which shocked me. but he was in his regular clothes, just regular shirt and jeans. And he took me down this hallway to see a woman that I don't know what she did in that reality. Uh, and I guess it was like a senior to him. And then we went down another hallway, and he worked in a big building, but he worked with trinkets. That's like what he wanted to do. He was like a tinkerer, just making things, which shocked me. But he had to work.
What kind of things did he make?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember he was tinkering and
Uh-huh.
making things, and he was very happy. And I could
Right.
see outside. It was out in it was like a future reality with trees and woods, and he was living his best life. And I saw him again in a spacecraft over St. Louis, Missouri, because in 2016, because I had already gone up and done the Global Pyramid Conference with Marta Thomas and talked to you, and we were interviewing a lot of people on radio shows.
When did Tom pass?
2015,
Oh, it was 20. Wow, that long ago.
December 2nd, 2015.
Wow.
But you and I, from 2012 to 2015, when he died, we had 3 years of radio shows
Mm-hmm.
to get
Right.
him to come on and tell some of his experiences. And that's when you heard him talk about the Mr. and Mrs. Smith story, as you called it. But
Right.
you and
Yeah.
I in and out of Africa, and working with the government and finding out for President Reagan if there were extraterrestrial life forms. And he and I were involved with those beings. So that was very astounding, because when we met each other, we repelled each other terribly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fight. But somehow the government wanted me to keep up with him. I had asked if there was a job I could do from the Pentagon, and the gentleman that was at Fort Hood got me the job then. So this is going way off the charts, I guess, of time and death and dying. But um, the stories are just as real to me, the ones I experienced after he died in the virtual reality.
You said that he was in where was he? Minnesota or something? Where was
Uh,
he?
if you remember that gentleman, it's really strange, Janet, because you know how we meet people synergistically
Yeah.
or in our world. You had met this gentleman. He was a truck driver like myself and Tom, and we knew him out of that business. He's moved over to the Philippines with his wife. You remember over near
Name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
that
do.
gentleman you met, and you
Yeah.
were, yeah. Well, he
Yeah.
was helping Marta too with the pyramid
Okay.
conference.
And so Tom came after he was dead to that event, or what are you trying to
No,
say?
uh,
Break
they
that
had
down.
done that event, and that gentleman came on the radio show. You weren't there that night, but he came on the radio show, and we were talking about him and doing a future show. And I don't know if that put it into my head or what, but anyway, right after that, I had a big UFO experience where a huge ship came down over in St. Louis, and we used to drive trucks everywhere. So instantly, I was teleported over to St. Louis, Missouri, and over the Indian Mounds. This big, gigantic mothership came
Mm-hmm.
over the mounds, the Indian mounds, where they're old ancient ruins.
Uh-huh.
And Tom was in there in the ship, so I was able to go to a huge global or universal party of
Uh-huh.
beings in different rooms, dressed in many different ways, like something off of Star Trek. It was absolutely amazing. All kind of people, different colored robes, long gowns, and
Mm-hmm.
nicely dressed. And I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly where I was. And this is in a death and dying scenario that I'm going, wait, how can this be happening? And this is really what I would like to research with maybe Dean Radin. Not that I'll ever meet him in this reality, but Dean Radin works with people like you and I that divine or mediumship or can speak with other spirits or have a connection with gods, demigods, all the beings or
Right.
extraterrestrials. And this is part of the research in my own reality is what are these other places that we visit that you
Yeah, so
can't
you
say,
were like in a big party or ball, or
yeah, it was huge.
everybody's dressed and form aware, and I mean I've been in a similar situation. Was it like a celebration, a
It
meeting?
was like a different room. It was a huge, gigantic mothership with different gigantic rooms. I mean, bigger than football fields. If you have to say, well,
Great.
what was the perimeter like? I'm like, well, I couldn't feel the perimeter. I could only go from one huge, and it's like we free floated over like a walking escalator in an airport. It had the feeling as big as an airport. I'm sure you've been in
Great.
O'Hare or
Yeah.
Atlanta or Dallas. You and I used to travel all the time. It had that big, expansive feeling with high ceilings, like a airport. But
Right.
it was a gigantic spacecraft with all these different wings, like hubs that came
Were they
together.
all humanoid? Other
They
species?
were, yeah, they were different sizes, just like on Earth. We have, the small little people up to the gigantic basketball players, 7 feet,
Right. Uh-huh.
anywhere from 3 to 7, 8 feet. And it was an amazing time, and it hasn't left me. And I wonder when things like this happen, if you're with a person that's already passed in this reality that you're close to, and yet it's not a dream. And I've made a couple of videos about that and put them on my Psychic Channel Network on YouTube. But I found one, TJ Mars Agency too, and it talks about that. But what is that reality if
Well,
it's not lucid dreaming, but
I think
it's so real?
Whitley was encountering people that had stories where they went on board a ship and they saw their deceased family and friends. So this
Yeah.
is the first time we've had
Oh.
ETs mixing with the dead people,
Oh. Okay.
these people.
Didn't know
So
that.
yeah, you didn't know that, yeah. So yeah,
Uh-uh.
that's not uncommon. I
That's
mean,
new to me.
uh-huh.
So I'm
So
72, and I just how does that work? How do you
because when
separate
we die,
that?
we're interdimensional, and many ETs are interdimensional. I mean, we're kind of limited to 3D physicality, but we experience other dimensions in dreams, astral projection, meditation, tantra, yoga,
Well, I
death.
have to work on that. I
Yeah.
have to work on that part of me because I haven't experienced that until, in Gulf Breeze, I told you about going up to a craft. One time I flew up above an extraterrestrial ship and it had all these pipes coming up out of it. And it was like a tanker,
Uh
but
huh.
it had long, and I knew what I was doing. And I flew up over it and down inside, and,
Right.
and I remember being outside and going inside. And I don't remember what happened after that. And I should have written it all up, and I didn't. But then the time where, the people were coming through on you remember with the tall Chinese people, I've talked about that on 2 or 3
Right.
occasions,
Mhm.
where they were coming through. And that's a different dimension too, because I wasn't in a dream state, and I was on the other side of lucid dreaming. I was semi-conscious, but I mean, I was taken, and I don't have anybody to explain that. So the closest I can come with is there are other levels of our consciousness that we haven't explored and really done a lot of research on. And hopefully, that's what the SRI Institute was about, or Dean
Mhm.
Radin in California. I haven't talked to him personally, but he did write a new book about magic, MAGIC, that type of magic,
Right.
with the three. He broke it into 3 levels, and I haven't studied that either. But I'd like to get that book. But
Did Tom ever talk to you?
He was with me, but it was more like ESP again.
Yeah,
It
so
didn't have to, it, and you're talking, but it's like inside your head.
mm-hmm.
You don't have the voice.
After he passed, I was contacted by David Bowie, and then whenever Prince died, they were right around the same time, and so I was like having this major contact with people that just died, and that does happen to me. So I was Bowie was unhappy, but Prince was happy. He was like really ecstatic that he'd had this great life, and so he brought like a party. He brought all these people that were deceased already that I knew and loved, or like Gene Roddenberry and Leonard Nimoy and John Lennon and George Harrison, and it just kept going on. All these people that I mean, I might not know them personally, but I was aware of them in my life, and I admired him. And because he said he talked to me and gave me a download. And he said, "I want to give you a gift." And it's like he just summoned all these people, and they were coming through. And I was looking to the right, and Sasha came in, and I was explaining to him because I was like in this lucid dream, but I didn't want to break the spell with my magic, right? And it's like, and I go, oh, and here comes this person, that person, and then out of the left, here comes Tom. He comes sauntering right, and he joins the celebration. And I knew I had never seen Tom walking, but I knew what he looked like from his photographs. And I went, and I was like, oh, there's Tom. And it was just like I had met him in real life, and he was just right there, walking right across my vision over to the group that was assembled. And then when he joined, it was like it dissipated and faded. And then wow.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, what's that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Talk a minute and
I'm
about
talking.
how you and your husband. And let me turn mine off and come back on.
Okay.
I'll come right back.
Okay.
I'll call you if I can get on.
Hold on, I gotta turn this off.
Wow.
Sorry, I forgot to start up the phone.
Let me hit
Okay, so
transfer.
what did you want me to talk about? Ask the question again.
Well, the different levels of intelligence that we're dealing with right now.
I'm gonna turn off my volume just a second and back.
Go off and on. From my equipment is some overload.
Yeah, it's still on yours. Turn your volume down, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we're having technical difficulties.
Let me close it and call you back. I'm gonna leave still.
All right.
Well,
yeah, come back in. Hey.
Start working.
I'm getting a message.
Interesting.
Watch out, something near you.
Okay.
What's going on?
Talk about.
Okay, so Star. Hi, Star. What are you getting? What's near us? Watch out, something's near you. You're getting interference. So Star is on our chat. Maybe she can't hear me. Let me say.
My arrow's working.
Yeah. What are you getting? Are you getting? Isn't this funny?
But Star. You can hear the noise.
I guess she can hear it. She says, "Watch out! There's something near you." Okay. Anyway, turn your volume off for 1 second. Use the volume. Let's see if it's from you.
Oh, you mean online?
Yeah, just mute. Not your audio. Not your visual, but your audio. Just mute it off and on. You know how to. Here, I'll try it. Yeah, it's on your end. Definitely some kind of interference. Anyway, let's carry on. The show must go on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just a little static. Let's continue. If it's our extraterrestrial people, thank you for showing up for our show.
Well, talking about extraterrestrials and the way there has been television shows with different levels of existence, but I've noticed a lot of people are talking about how they've experienced extraterrestrials alive and dead, or near-death experiences. So the consciousness is what we're really investigating, and the levels that we haven't talked about.
So
We
you
don't
and
have a good
Teresa,
think of.
both of us, Teresa and I have had near-death experiences, and we've had experiences with people who have died. Have you called in or met any other people or animals that have passed, Teresa?
Have I done what?
Have you encountered any other people or animals or extraterrestrials that, well, let's say people and extraterrestrials, people and animals that have died? I think that they're within the same range. You know, you might see somebody that's an extraterrestrial, and they're just like this other dimension, like different vibratory frequency.
I'm going to try to call in on my phone. Let's see.
Okay, mute your volume while you call in on your phone, and we'll get a lot of feedback. Here, I'll mute your volume for 1 second. Let's try that. Okay. So, Teresa. Anyway,
Can you mute me?
I did, but I want to hear what you're saying. All right.
See if you can mute me.
So, let me ask. Okay, what do you want to talk about, Teresa? Ask me a question. I'll answer that while you're doing your tech stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, sorry for our. Okay, Teresa, ask it to leave. Star says ask it to leave. Whatever's bothering your interference on your audio, ask it to leave.
Yeah. I'm going to try to come in on my phone.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you, Star.
Somebody doesn't want us talking about the levels of existence that we're talking about.
So let's just talk anyway.
It's very interesting.
All right.
See if you can get me on my phone.
Well, I'll tell you. In other shows, I talked about how. There we go. Okay, let me add to stage. Oh, now,
okay, hold on. I'm going to turn off this.
Yeah, you got to turn that one off. There you go. We got rid of it. It was from your computer. Okay, thank you, Star. Go away, interference, whatever you are. What is it you don't want us to say? Much better. Okay, Teresa, back to you. So, what were we saying? So I was saying about how Tom came, and what about your daughter? Tell us about your daughter, Gigi. That was a very powerful passing. Oh no, we lost her. Add the stage. See, we're maybe not supposed to talk about this. I was talking to Teresa on the phone. Her daughter had terminal cancer. And then she came in from outside and she collapsed on the floor. And I was there when they took her to the hospital. Here we go. And Teresa has a very powerful story. I was starting to say how, can you try speaking? Let's do a sound check. Go ahead, Teresa, speak. Can you talk? Go ahead, talk. Talk. You talk. You talk. Talk. We can't hear you. You're not muted. You're unmuted.
Okay, now can you
Hear you? Yeah, this is talk. Actually, it's T. You know, sign language.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly. Now, Teresa, when your daughter passed, so we were on the phone, and I tend to be there when there's these things happening. We could be
Yeah, you do.
for a week, and then all of a sudden, oh, hi, there you are. And your daughter comes in from outside, and oh, she just collapsed on the floor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were there at the hospital. I mean, I just find it fascinating that some people see a lot of people leaving their bodies, and dying is as natural as being born, right? And some people are there when people are coming in. They see a lot of births. My one friend worked at a huge hospital, and she said in the course of her career, she was part of 40,000 births or something like that. I go, 40,000? That's amazing. But Theresa, you've been there for a number of very profound and deaths of people very close to you in your family. That's sad, and yet in a way that's a blessing because you get to be a
Yeah,
part of this. It's very sacred energy. It's very spiritual.
I'm very curious to find out more and talk to more of our experiencers and, work with those that have been alien contactees or those. I just heard, remember Louis, Dr. Chury today was talking
Louis,
on another show. It was under YouTube movies. Somebody made a movie about his experience. Dr. Chury, that it's been on our radio show, but we've
he
had
back anytime we want him. So when we go to interviewing again, I can reach out to him. And yeah, but go ahead and say what.
yeah, they
Correct.
had really good, showing his life as a child in another country and all the background story. So they were excellent documentarians with visuals and living his life as he told it. And I could see us doing that in the future, but we just don't have the equipment or right now. But we're just trying to get our reality out there that there's other people like us that are experiencing this reality in social media. And I wrote a book called How to Social Network Metaphysics. And that was to get about cosmology at the time. And I wrote a book called Knowing Cosmology. But, I've written about 40 books, Janet, and I never promoted them. And now I'm wondering about, is everything that we created, it all has to have a purpose, just like us coming as humans are having animals in our life or certain people in our lives. It's got to mean something in the conscious that we create because, the culture we're born in has a part to do with it. The people that make our human bodies, our parents, has something to do with it. But when we come into this conscious reality, we know we don't make the birds and the trees and the ocean. It's all here.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said it was like comparing when you think you know everything. It's like you're trying to take a spoonful of water out of the ocean and holding up the spoon, and you don't see whales in the spoon. Therefore, whales must not exist, right? So they compare our brains, our consciousness. Am I leaving? I'm leaving my phone.
There you are. You're
If I
leaving.
get too if I get too close, I don't know how to
That's fine.
adjust that.
That's good.
But what I'm saying is, if you get too close to a subject and you try to analyze it,
For the trees. Yeah.
it's not necessarily the truth, but it is the you for the filters that you have and the perception. So we're learning that things that we think are true are that is knowing and knowledge. It may not be the whole picture, right? And now that at 72 years old, I've learned the more I think I know, the less I realize the less I know. In other words, there's so much to know about consciousness and the cosmos, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was mine and your job was to present the Ascension Center and the Ace Folk Life and the Ace Metaphysical Institute and get all these things working together for spiritual science and consciousness, and just metaphysics and the study of humankind and what it all means with these extraterrestrial beings and not take anything away from, religions or God, but we say God has no religion. And then if the monad philosophy is all about the beginning and the consciousness, were we here before the Big Bang, or was the reality or the consciousness? And idealists say
consciousness was before matter. So when you think about anything you do, and I've applied this in my life, I have to think it before I can do it or make it happen or create it and then make it happen. So we say the be do have principle. You have to be it in order to do it in order to have it. And we have consciousness before everything else. How do you feel about that, Janet? Before, in the beginning of,
Oh, I've read a number of concepts of how, Edgar Casey had a wonderful story, and I've been trying to find it over the years. I read it probably when I was in my 20s, and God contemplated self, and then he contemplated not self. So he started the polarity. So that we're in a polarity paradigm, our self and not self, but it's actually all one. And we are everything and everyone, and always have been. Always. It's really hard to understand. We always have been and always will be, and that what we perceive as else, it's really a reflection or self. And so, but yes, even Edgar Casey said that whatever it was, God had a thought, I am, and then that part of contemplating self, every little sub thought created another universe, but it was our focus and tension on one particular part that made that bigger. So let's say we have 2 billion people that are focused on Christianity, another 1.5 billion are focused on Islam. And so we have different philosophies, but the focus on that reality creates that as real for all those people that are the believers of that reality. So it's like we're constantly changing. So if we change our beliefs, we actually change our world or reality, and we can sometimes affect, many people, or we might just be on that reality all by ourselves. I mean, it's something like that. It's like
and
the
this is
singular.
the year we're changing it. And I really believe 2020 was the year that was set forth by those above us, extraterrestrials, for humankind here on this planet anyway, because we keep time where there's gravity and space and time
Mhm.
for the spiritual science of it all. So 2020 was to see our hindsight as 2020, but
Right.
2024 is accepting the unlimited possibility of skips on the timeline. So we have over 8 billion now people, which are unlimited amounts of data space created in each individual spark, our
Hmm.
spirit, our soul, our psyche. His soul is your psyche. And then those of us studying parapsychology and metaphysics, esoterics, we're moving forward with the magic that everything is consciousness. However, what was before consciousness, or the concept of the all I am, or the God source that created absolutely everything from thoughts. So thoughts became things,
Right.
and things became matter. So that's as far as we've got in science and quantum
So
physics.
what is death then? Since we started this show with death, I'm going to keep
Well,
this kind of
chaos,
we
you
got.
said we,
Let me
yeah,
finish this. Let me finish the
go
question.
ahead.
Okay, and then I'll say go ahead. So what I'm getting, I'm just formulating this. So what is death? Right? We started this conversation, witnessing, experiencing death, and as humans, when we, it's very rare when somebody jumps up and down, is happy when they see somebody they love die. So we have these strong, powerful, negative emotions. But when somebody's born, we celebrate. But perhaps on the other side, as they leave this world and they come forth on the other side, they're celebrating. Hey, welcome back. I hope you had a good lifetime. And let's talk about it. What do you think that
It's
is?
almost like that.
Yeah, because I've studied a lot of books about life after life, life between life, future life, past lives. I mean, there are hundreds of books written, and I've probably read about a dozen or two on them, and then I studied the Dr. Michael Newton Institute, and they've done the research, 40,000 cases, progressing people, not regressing, but taking them through to where do you go after you die. 40,000 people, dozens or more facilitators, and they would report their experiences. They put them in a series of books, and didn't matter what the race, religion, culture, color, creed of the people, they all had these common experiences. I'm not going to go into that at great depth, but it's wonderful information. But what do you think happens when we die, when we're out of our bodies and we're going to the next realm? What do you envision or imagine or think?
Well, I know what I perceive, and it keeps me going because I've died so many times in this reality that people want to believe it's just near-death experiences, flatlining. But, when I was a child, I went up above, so I learned how to get out of body at a very early age. There was a time when I went up on the spacecraft, where I left my body. So that was an out of body, right?
Right.
Meeting my extraterrestrial family in space, but they tell me to go back down in my body. So I already knew that I wasn't my container, my physical reality body. So I had that to live with and to be taught by these beings that would come and go that other people couldn't see. So automatically, I had this difference of opinion about my Earth mind.
Oh no, are you frozen? Okay, we're having technical difficulties again. Isn't this fun? Star, what is the guff? Let's see. I'll ask you a question. Or would you like to ask us a question? Star says we go to the guff, G-U-F. What is the guff? Is that a typo? Is that a real word? Theresa, can you try to go off and then back in again so we can continue this show? Because I don't like to sit here talking to myself. Okay, let's see. Oh, Gotham, the Bardo. I call it the Bardo. And there we go. It's just me. So, Star, ancient teachings on the Bardo. So, Star, what is your perception of the Bardo? For me, Bardo is like the in-between space. I guess different religions call it different things. So what is the Bardo to you, Star? If you can type that to me, and I'll... Ancient teachings on the Bardo, yes. Okay. Well, if Theresa doesn't come back, then I'm going to call it a day. Where we make soul contracts. Okay. So, Star, what do you think are soul contracts? Agreements of what we're going to do with each other. Agreement. What Dr. Michael Newton's information said is that we make contracts with our body, that we're in a synergistic relationship. Heal from soul elemental energies with Chris Ann. Okay, I don't know what that means. Anyway, we have agreements with our body to take care of it, to be good to our body. Our body is a sentient being, so we come into this duality consciousness within this single form, and we have potentialities of what we will do in the course of our lifetime. Alrighty. Well, I guess she's not going to come back, and I'm going to call this a day. Something's going on with our communication today, and I'm going to end the show. But thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry for all these problems. We're going to try this again next week, same time. I want to say love and blessings and aloha. Thank you for joining us.